These are the best bits of season 1 of our podcast of Afri-CAN, which was largely focused on innovation. African innovation. The phrase itself is widely used as clickbait and headlines. But in our podcast, Afri-CAN, we sat down with innovators, philanthropists, and researchers to unpack the complexity behind this term and what it means in an African context. This theme came up time and time again throughout the whole of season 1 of our podcast, Afri-CAN. From young African innovators talking about what inspired them.
To cut a long story short, there was something that my father had said when he dropped me off at college, which was, we've done everything to get you here. Now you have to do everything to get others even further. And this sentiment of giving back, contributing to a community that raised me, which I have many stories around, and finding a way of giving other people purpose was something that was really ingrained in me. And that led me to working at institutions such as UNICEF and the World Bank, where the primary objective was give opportunities to those that yet don't have it. And I did that in my own way through technology.
To venture philanthropists coming up with very specific solutions to unique problems.
What we do realize is that a nurse is not typically an entrepreneur. They're not trained to be an entrepreneur. So we train them in that component specifically. So how do you run your business? How do you separate personal finance from business finance? We help them with marketing, with financial, with budgeting, with HR, with all these kind of shared services that they would not technically be able to do on themselves. So we help them with suppliers and with procurement and have good procurement deals with other organizations, from an equipment perspective to a medication and consumables point of view. So we make it easier for her to run her business. And at the same time, our aim is that she can have a better financial output than what she would have as a salaried employee. And then it's up to her to retain main part of the network, or if she wants to branch off completely on her own. So that's kind of how we empower a nurse to democratize access to quality healthcare.
We touched on innovative financing models in Africa and how they can prompt unique solutions to contextually African problems. In episode 3, we saw that prizes and funds, such as the Earthshot Prize, can accelerate innovative problem solving.
Any solution that cuts across multiple themes, and many do, has great potential to succeed. D-Light, an Earthshot Prize finalist in 2024, is an exemplar in this respect, with its incredible innovation cutting across off-grid energy access, job creation, improving education outcomes, and empowering more than 180 million people across Africa. They're a shining example of innovation in Africa.
This concept was also discussed in episode 1, where we looked at how the private sector can also be a catalyst, where risk-taking, experimentation, and profit can be continuous engines that drive innovation.
I think that the more investment that we can put into harnessing value on the continent, the more we will unlock the entire financial ecosystem of Africa.
In episode 14, our founder, Guillaume Fonkenel, gave an example of a time where risk-taking led to innovation for us.
A few years ago, we started by drilling boreholes deep in the ground. We realized, and mostly in Somaliland, but also in Ethiopia, we realized that the solution to the water problem in the Horn of Africa probably doesn't run through doing enough boreholes, because the water tables eventually will drop too much, and every year there's an enormous amount of rains that drops on these areas, but it's very condensed, it's very short, everything gets flooded, and then within days the heat and the drought comes back. So we thought that harvesting these enormous flows of rainwater was probably the way to go. But of course we're not sure that it's going to work, because as far as we know, nobody really has done it on the scale we plan to do it in Somaliland in particular. So this is a risk. So we set out a few years ago to build a bunch of water reservoirs, relatively large ones, maybe 100 meters by 100 by 200 meters, and we want to build dozens and dozens and dozens in the whole country, so that there is a water hole anytime during the year, even in periods of drought. But is that going to work? First, is it going to be practical? Are we going to be able to build this reservoir in very remote areas? And I'm not sure. We'll try. Are we going to build them in the right location so that indeed they get filled during the water season, the rainy season? I don't know. So there's some risk attached to that, and I think this risk a typical organization would not be able to take.
Episode 8 looks at how to become an innovator and how to prepare yourself with the right tools.
I just started at grade 4 and I started to do different kinds of things. And the first thing that I've created at grade 4 was a little bit of a software thing. It was just like software where kids could make games instead of playing games. And then I got into a regional competition at grade 4 and I won first place. And I was awarded 5,000 birr, and it was kind of very motivating to actually help me grow more and to continue what I was doing at that time. And at grade 5, I also continued, and I also made another website which was based on some kind of, the things that actually could introduce us to the environment of Asosa, which is a region in Ethiopia. And it just came to the grade level of grade 7 where everything really started to take like, really deep, outtake. The first thing that when I was in grade 7 last year, I was able to participate in the National Science and Technology competition, which I got the 3rd place, and I was rewarded a tablet. And it was very, very heartwarming. It was very kind of emotional, looking back to where I started from. So it's just like where I've actually started from in the past. So thank you very much.
In many of our episodes, we looked at education. Whether it was innovative education models, such as what we discussed in episode 2, where we looked at locally rooted pedagogies that had an African-centered learning experience, such as Labawi International Academy, or episode 10, where we talked about the importance of teaching critical thinking in schools. This also included leveraging local culture to shape uniquely African critical thinking models. To episode 15, which showcased how investing in girls' education can drive economic development and social change.
And I found out these girls were really, hampered through the environment, through the different influences which is coming from the opposite sex, especially for high school level, and that was really hampering their education attainment. So these girls were achieving highest in all these subject areas, in mathematics, physics, science, and they were even pursuing in engineering and related areas, which is not common in core education areas. So my research usually focused on this type of sections within the controlled environment of the same schooling patterns. So that research was the base for me to pursue that policy area.
But we also debated the originality of innovation, especially in the African philanthropic world.
If you look at social investment, for example, or ideas for impact investing, yes, maybe we have some specific technologies that have evolved as finance and as technologies have themselves evolved, that can help us to measure, evaluate new types of specific programs. But again, the ideas behind this, the ideas, say, of avoiding certain sinful stocks or of targeting the best performing or the most good organizations and initiatives, that dates back to the ideas of Islamic finance from literally thousands of years ago. So I think in the philanthropy field, we have a bit of a habit of trying to constantly reinvent the wheel and then claiming that we have when maybe we really just slightly changed the color of the tire.
The importance of philanthropy in determining how innovations get funded or scaled.
How do we ensure that our measurement approaches actually serve the communities we work, rather than just satisfying donor requirements, for example?
And also how philanthropic impact evaluation can itself be innovative.
I think sometimes it's not about perfection, which was the case in academia. It's more about getting the signal we need and fast enough so that we can act on it. The goal is really to put people to work and solve these big problems. So that type of clarity and vision forces us to think pretty hard about what metrics really reflect progress towards it. It's like, how do you design a signal that tells you if you're hitting the bullseye of that vision, the vision of our founder and our board? And that's where the creativity comes in, which I think is one of the best parts of this show.
Episode 6 showed us insights into East Asia's state-led innovation strategies and how we can learn from them.
The private sector played an absolutely pivotal role in these East Asian developmental states, as we call them. So they were different in each country. So in Japan and Korea, we saw the role of big private conglomerates, the Zaibatsu, the Chaebols. In Taiwan, it was more small and medium enterprises in the private sector working along with state companies. The key condition for the developmental state to emerge had to do with the configuration of power between the state and private actors, private elites.
And in episode 7, we discussed how it can be difficult to balance innovation with tradition. How can we balance new ideas with already existing cultural norms and traditions? We unpacked a lot with our special guest in season 1 of Afri-CAN, and we encourage you to go back and listen to any episode that sparks your interest. We will guarantee that you'll find the discussion as insightful as we did. Season 2 will kick off on the 15th of September, and we hope that you will join us again for a discussion with deeper themes.